Real estate is starting to fall. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I had my stein of coffee and I thought we would have a look at this article from domain.com.au because there seems to be more and more discussion of a potential fall or falling real estate prices coming from, well, the usual actors in the property always goes up drama that is the Australian economy. Remember, they're all talking about, just the 10%, just the 10%. We'll have to see, guys. We'll have to see. I'll bring up this chart for those of you that haven't really been awake for the last 20 years and have seen just look at that increase from 2006, guys. Look at the blue line in Melbourne. If house price falls, where will Sydney's first home buyers be able to buy that they couldn't before? So now the discussion is moving towards first home buyers being able to buy. Dozens of suburbs would open up to first home buyers hopeful in Sydney if property price decreased by 10 to 20% this year as forecast by economists. 10 to 20%. Just think about that, guys. You got a $500,000 house, 20% fall, it's $100,000. Suddenly your $500,000 house is only worth $400. If you've got you're one of those Sydney millionaires, your $1 million hovel falls 20%. You're down to $800. Honestly, I keep thinking about all these articles we've been looking at over the past few months of first home buyers rushing into the market and excited that they've bought a property. Oh, sure, we paid $200,000 more than we anticipated, but property always goes up. It's always a young couple. I'm worried. I'm worried they're going to go through some tough times in their marriage if property falls like that. They're in negative equity. But you can come stronger out of these adverse conditions. So there are 37 Sydney suburbs that would see house prices drop below a median of $700,000 if the market fell by 10%, an analysis of Domain house price data for the year to March showed. Is $700,000 considered an affordable price, everyone? I'd consider 3 to 4. You want a mortgage repayment that is not stressful, at least that's what you'd hope. Every single postcode fell in Western and Southwestern Sydney, which would allow first home buyers to purchase property under the first home loan deposit scheme threshold of $700,000 and stamp duty at a concessional rate. My understanding is they're also looking at abolishing stamp duty in New South Wales. Of course, replacing it with another tax. I think if they do, we'll be worse off in the long run. What do you reckon, guys? It's never works out for normal Australians, does it? Our political leaders need more money that they didn't earn to splash around. Shawfield, Canley Heights and Fairfield Heights were the most expensive suburbs to potentially become affordable for first home buyers, with a 10% drop, based on March median house prices of $777, $765 and $760 respectively. Shawfields would fall to $693,000, Canley Heights would fall to $688,500, Fairfield Heights would fall to $684,000 in the event of a 10% price decline. Now, here's the issue. This first home owners bailout or deposit scheme where they're guaranteeing it's concerning that the government is guaranteeing anything. But that is going to have an inflationary effect on the price of property because people will then be able to borrow more. There'll be more competition to drive up prices. That's how these things work. These grants, these handouts, in the long run, they're hurting the people that you're trying to help. Be better if you reduce their tax burden to allow them to save their own money. Meanwhile, first home buyers seeking a unit would get a look into an extra 18 Sydney suburbs that fall under the $700,000 threshold if the market dropped 10%, Domain figures show. Now, I'll bring up I'll bring up this map I can show you here, which just shows the unit price growth and how you can see that it hasn't all been equal. You've got the red rooster line, lower class, cheaper properties, and then you've got the more affluent suburbs, what do they call it, the goat cheese boutique cafe area, where it's more expensive. I'm surprised anyone's even considering buying a unit. I guess, I'd look at one that's a lot older, to be honest, from the 80s maybe, double brick, something solid, something that's sat there for a while, where any defects have materialized. So, Brookvale, Northwest and Croydon were the most expensive suburbs to potentially fall in the sub $700,000 market. Now just think about this, particularly for the foreign viewers. If we got any Americans viewing, how much houses cost over there? You can get a house for $100,000 over there. And this is why when you have, you've got people repeating loser think about minimum wage in the US. Oh, it's so bad. Their houses are so much cheaper than we have here. And our minimum wage is so high. And the dollar, what are we sitting at? 60, 63, 64 US cents right now? Just divide it in two and you get the price over there. So we're talking $700,000 for first home buyers. $700,000, close to 30% off $1 million. Does that seem ludicrous to anyone else? How long you'd have to work for that? And then people wonder why. They've got a huge mortgage. They're both mum and dad are working, and they've got 2 kids that they have to put in daycare because they have to work because they need to pay off this. Then they need the government to bail them out with bloody daycare, and that whole industry gets propped up and inflated beyond belief because of government intervention. And then you've got people working. Their health suffers because they're eating crap because they can't cook a meal at home. They don't spend any time with their kids. The children are just stuck on electronic devices all the time. Does it sound like a happy life, guys? It really doesn't. These suburbs medians would fall to $699, $695, and $693 respectively. I mean, they're just playing with numbers here. This is still insanely high prices. In the event of 15% drop in median house prices, the majority of suburbs would continue to be found in western and southwestern Sydney's, as well as a handful of Canterbury, Blackstone, including Auburn, Cabramatta West, and Punchbowl. Under this scenario, median house prices would drop to $697. I mean, these are still crazy prices, and these aren't really good suburbs. I mean, they're normal suburbs. If median house prices were to drop by 20%, more suburbs in the same regions would open up to first home buyers. But a raft of different regions, including the northern beaches, upper North Shore and eastern suburbs, would open up if the median unit price dropped by 20%. Unit median prices would drop below $700,000 in suburbs, including Freshwater, Surrey Hills, Rushcutter Bay, and Tarramurra. Now, here's the thing. The problem is people have been conditioned. They've been conditioned with such high bloody property prices that they may psychologically assume $700,000 is cheap, particularly if we're in a downward market. Just think about that. Think about the burden this is going to put on people. $700,000 for a unit, when here you've got all the suburbs. What happens if we get... you can play this game. What if we got 30% decreases, 40% decreases? Many people are saying property's overvalued, except the pundits. Does everyone remember that article? That article a couple of years ago when McGrath was saying property in Sydney was overvalued, then he had to put a correction making sure it wasn't, or clarifying that it wasn't a bubble. Domain economist Trent Wiltshire said property market falls would depend on how long the pandemic restrictions remained in place. Now, I'm hearing them saying that more and more. They're basing it all on the restrictions. The argument is once they're instantly removed, boom, everything will go back. Will it? Will it? I mean, let's ask a few questions. Unemployment ain't looking too good. And this is the ABS data. Roy Morgan was sitting at underemployment and unemployment of about 25% the last time I looked, yesterday. Now, housing affordability, sure, it's quite high. Unit price growth has not been universal. But another thing to consider is foreign investment. That's taken a dive. That really pumped up a lot of unit and house prices, particularly in Sydney and Melbourne. And that fed through to the construction sector. We also have people in arrears getting higher and higher, even though our cash rate is just a joke. And we also have people who are taking the 6-month holiday from their bank. And all the banks are just reporting, well, they're stopping dividends, they're reporting lots of financial issues already. Now, even if restrictions were ended tomorrow, do you think everything would get back to normal? Do you think our tourism industry, which is 60 billion of our economy, a big chunk of it, do you think that would get back to normal? Do you think demand for resources, which is starting to show signs of softening? I've got another video I plan to do about coal prices in trouble. Do you think they will instantly rebound? And that will feed through to the property market. So while they keep saying that it sounds like it's the hope that these restrictions will ease up and everything will go back to normal, I'm not as confident as they tend to be. And what about consumer behavioral changes? More and more people are shopping online. We're hearing more and more businesses that are closing. Potential for retail businesses not to even open again because the whole climate has changed. Got another piece. I lost the article. I've got to find it again, where they're actually tracking real-time spending data where people are making different choices. They're saving money. They're buying different brands. That's why we're an Aldi family. We will happily go to Aldi. Rachel has, when we were getting really tight on money, she went down and did an Excel spreadsheet and went to Aldi with a laptop to get the groceries as cheap as she could. And then when a Costco opened up, because she had this super spreadsheet, we went to Costco. And I thought, oh, this is great. All these big packages and stuff. I mean, what was scary was seeing all the... If you've ever watched South Park, the episode of them going around Costco in the little buggies, morbidly obese people, there were lots of them there. It was pretty worrying. And a lot of the stuff in Costco is just sugar-laden crap. But nevertheless, we went through there, and Rachel was going, oh, no, this isn't actually cheaper. Because you could compare it to the Aldi prices. It was all... The trick with Costco is you buy a membership, so you put money in, then you psychologically think, oh, I've paid that, so I need to shop there to get advantage of it. We made sure to get a refund straight away. It's a smart trick. But behavioral habits change. I'm going off on a tangent there. What I'm saying is spending habits are changing for people. So that will affect retail and that will affect jobs. So this is where I question, where everyone is saying it'll depend on this. I think, indirectly, yes, but more long-term, it will depend on the speed of the global economic recovery and the benefits that will have to the Australian economy. Because Australia, we are not a manufacturing economy. We're a quarry economy, we're a tourist economy, we're an education economy. And we're dependent on overseas, which is just the world we are in. And in some ways, it's unavoidable. It's unavoidable, but we just need to prepare for it. Price falls will be reasonably modest at around 10%, Mr. Wiltshire said. There is a high chance there could be a recurrence of the pandemic, and if that occurs, that's when things will drag on for a while. So if people are telling you price falls are at 10%, what are you going to do? Are you going to buy now, or are you going to wait? If you've been waiting for years anyway, you'll hold on. People will wait. And we haven't seen any of the forced sales yet. Here's the thing. Are they all hoping this will blow over in 6 months and everything will return? Maybe it will. Maybe it will. We'll have to see. If there's a second shutdown, that will hurt business confidence, and that will have a big impact and hurt the market. Well, business confidence is already off the bloody chart. It's a joke, guys. Mr. Wiltshire said, the pandemic-led downturn had affected Australians differently, with many people still in secure jobs who were ready to buy properties. For some people, well, no. This is the thing. They may be in secure jobs, but some of their businesses are dependent on JobKeeper. A big part of our workforce, nearly 2/3 of the Australian workforce, is directly or indirectly being paid by the government to some level or another, either on unemployment, either with JobKeeper or either civil servants. So, well, actually, no, they're right. All the civil servants will still be able to buy. Maybe that's why we're seeing Canberra not affected as much by recessions. For some people, it will be an opportunity if prices fall 10 to 15%. The impact of this recession will be uneven. Well, all of them are. I think a lot of it's going to be borne by the younger generations. By the younger generations are really going to cop it. It'll have a big impact. So it's a last farewell from the previous generation, guys, to all the youngies. You've got to adapt. I think Gen Z are going to be even more conservative and much more stingy with their money than any generation before. We'll have to see. Oasis Skiing buyer's agent Paul Wilcox said he had already seen a 10% price drop in general. In some areas, like the inner west, it's getting closer to 15%, Mr. Wilcox said. It's great buying opportunities for anyone as long as they've got employment and good savings behind them. Why would you jump now when this... Wouldn't you wait for signs of a recovery? Or maybe they want to catch the dip. Maybe they're thinking this is the dip. If you couldn't afford a better suburb now, they can, he said, adding that many were reluctant to buy because of the lack of competition. Everyone is trying to pick the bottom of the market again. It's a long-term purchase. Even if it goes down by 20,000, the interest rates are so low. The lion's share of postcodes that would fall below the $700,000 threshold in the event of a 10% drop in unit prices were in inner western suburbs, including Camperdown, Summer Hill, Dulwich Hill, and Petersham. And there we go. The agency Inner West selling agent Saad Hassin said it was a perfect opportunity for first home buyers to get their foot in the door in areas that had become out of reach. We're not necessarily seeing a massive drop in pricing. We're seeing less competition, Mr. Hassan said. It's really the advantage of not having to compete against 10 other people. Yes, this is the thing, because we haven't actually seen the impacts of this lockdown filter through to the whole economy. People aren't being forced to sell because the banks are giving them a holiday. So, I mean, there's the thing. If you think it's all going to return to normal and people will be able to keep financing these properties and these investment properties, maybe now's the time to get in. But if you anticipate or expect it to go a bit worse, and then some people may be forced to sell, then there may be a much sharper decline in the market. What are you going to do? You're going to wait. So we'll have to see where people sit. Over the certainly past 5 or 6 years, it's been very competitive to get into these markets. Whenever you can buy 7, 8 or 9 kilometers within the CBD, it's a good opportunity to get in. Well, here's the other question. With the change in working, with more people adapting to a remote working world, working from home, will the demand for CBD access be the same? We're not seeing panic selling. That's been one of the key things that have propped up the market. Units in a handful of northern beaches suburbs would crop up in the sub-$700,000 market in the event of a 10 to 15% decline, including Brookvale, DY, and Manly Vale. Cunningham's selling agent, Lillian O'Toole, said she'd already seen first-home buyers come to the market. We're definitely seeing a lot of first-home buyers taking advantage of the market, Ms. O'Toole said. They're realizing that interest rates are at an all-time low, and they're making up a bigger buying pool. The only first-home houses first-home buyers could snap up for less than 700 in the event of 10% downturn were further past Parramatta. Ray White Witherall selling agent Robert Bassetto said while it would be hard to come by due to the sheer lack of stock, it would be good value. There's definitely going to be buyer opportunities in weeks to come. But anything under 700,000, if you can find it, is good value. He said prices had remained steady for now. So there you have it, guys. There you have it. Agents already encountering declines of 10 to 15%. Domain playing with figures, predicting potentially 10 or 20% declines. What do you all think? Were you rushing to get into the market, guys? So first home buyer, jump in now? Or are you waiting? Biding your time. No need to rush. As always, please Please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you want to support us, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel here on YouTube or on Patreon. You can support us via our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. You can use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint and send us support via PayPal. We also have merch you can get from the HeiseSays website. Take care, guys. I'll see you next time.